You might say, well, that's crazy. No one knows what happens when you die because you'd be dead, right? Wouldn't you? Well, according to the work of Dolores Cannon, who wrote extensively on the subject, she spoke about the process. And you might ask how she wrote about it through her clients, her regressional clients that came to see her in a tiny little town over 45 years. I'm going to be getting into some of the specific accounts that some of Dolores Cannon's and my own clients have shared with me over the years. But before I get into all of that, I want to welcome you to this YouTube live today, or perhaps you're watching the replay. Nevertheless, I love hearing from you, so perhaps at this point you can let me know where you are joining me from around the world. We always get people from every single part of this globe, all the way through North America, down to here in Australia. So what happens when we die, according to the accounts of my clients in hypnosis and the clients described in this book, in the work of Dolores Cannon? Well, the first thing that people commonly describe is feeling really cold. Then viewing their body as a spirit from an outside perspective. Often they are looking up over a bed. So many people die in bed, so often it's the bed experience or wherever they may find themselves. And the first thought, I find this funny, that they generally think is, wow, did I really look that bad? Like, that body's all messed up. And I feel joyful, I feel free, I don't have any more pain. And of course, if someone has faced a long illness, they're going to really notice the lack of pain the moment that they've left the body. The second thing that they often report is the profound grief of those around them and not understanding why they feel so bad. Because them in this new state, out of the body, they suddenly feel free, they feel liberated, they feel at peace. And they're not quite connecting just yet with how people around them are experiencing such grief. This is the new perspective when we leave this physical. Now, of course, the skeptics are going to say people made it up in hypnosis and no one can really know what happens when you die, and this is just wishful thinking. In fact, those people generally say this when they die is, boy, I feel confused because I didn't think there was anything. The next thing that commonly occurs is that spirits will stay around for some time. You might be asking, how do I know this, or how do you know this? It's all listed in this book, Between Death and Life by Dolores Cannon, where her hypnosis subjects talk in depth about their experiences through regression work from past lives that they have had, of what it is like to go through the death experience. One of the things that this book speaks about early on is pain and experiencing pain. And of course, we all know what pain is like. We all go through it, if not all of the time, physically, emotionally, financially is a big one right now that people tend to go through. And pain, from the perspective of this book, talks about it being a huge lesson for us. Pain is an opportunity to grow and to expand. Who's experiencing pain at the moment? Actually, one of the accounts in this, in regression work, is from an individual woman who in a past life was experiencing a very painful birth. And she describes, as she's trying to give birth, that she made the decision to leave the body because it was way too painful for her. When Dolores Cannon was conversing with this particular woman in hypnosis, and they're conversing and having a conversation, which is written about, she said, boy, I missed the opportunity because I didn't want to experience the pain so much that I left the physical, and I missed out on that particular lesson. What we've learned through much of Dolores Cannon's material is that this life is all about lessons. Lessons for your soul's evolution, lessons for your soul's advancement. And pain or suffering has so much to teach us. A lot of people say, why would I come here? This life is hard, it's painful, and yet it offers profound opportunity to grow and to expand. So how do we really know what happens between life and death? We know because there are thousands of accounts now that exist about near-death experiences. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of accounts now through quantum healing hypnosis technique of people in the somnambulistic state. Somnambulistic. Always a tongue twister, that one. Somnambulistic, what does that mean? The dictionary definition is sleepwalking. It is not that. From Dolores Cannon's perspective, it's the deepest state of trance that one can go into, or you might commonly know it as the theta state, the deepest state of relaxation. In fact, you're in this twice a day. Just as you're drifting off to sleep at night, you are entering the theta brainwave, the theta state of consciousness. And just first thing as you awake in the morning, you are coming through this state. And that is why everybody can achieve profound states of consciousness in hypnosis. Some people say to me, Paul, I couldn't be hypnotized, it wouldn't work on me. And yet you're in that state twice a day anyway. It's a very natural state. And I love working with people in this state when I do hypnosis, because I've found, like Dolores Cannon did, is that all of the answers can be tapped into. Our soul's purpose. What is our specific contribution during this incarnation? What am I meant to contribute? What am I meant to do in this life? It's the universal question that many people ask is, what am I meant to be doing with this life? Surely I didn't come here to just suffer and struggle to pay my bills, struggle to get by, struggle to find a relationship, struggle to stay healthy. There's got to be more. Now back to the skeptics again, and of course the world's full of skeptics. And the skeptics is going to debunk everything I'm saying and say, there's no evidence, there's no periodic evidence of what you're saying, you can't prove it. And yet thousands of people have reported in great detail the near-death experiences that they have gone through. They describe it in great vivid detail. In fact, even at Harvard University and other universities around the world, there are studies now that study this phenomena, study hypnosis subjects and the information that they're getting. So there is a lot of research in the development of this phenomena. But of course, the skeptic's always going to be a skeptic, so he can't prove anything. I liked it when Dolores Cannon said we're not meant to change anybody but ourselves anyway. We're not trying to convince somebody. We're not trying to get them to believe. This is people's experience. This is what people have experienced. But what I've learned is that the vast majority of people are terrified and afraid of dying. What do you think that is? Someone had said hi. I think it's Jalen. Hi. Hi to you. And hello from the Philippines. And Angela said, great to have my bestie back. And hello, Soren. I'm just reading the comments now. Why do you think that death is so scary for the vast majority of people? People are afraid of the unknown. And maybe just let me know how my audio is going, why I'm communicating. Let me know in the chat, give me a thumbs up or a like if it's good audio today. The reason that I'm asking that is last time I did one of these lives, I had bad audio and I didn't know. Death isn't scary. I agree. But the person that said that, for the vast majority of people, death is one of the most fearful things that people are afraid of. Apparently the second is public speaking, which I'm doing now and I'm not experiencing any fear. You're in a cult. Oh, I love this. I love this question or comment. Maybe you can give me some more context, MPOT, that I'm in a cult. Because I love this. I was having this conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and we were Googling and we were going to different sources online to define what a cult is. And to meet the criteria of a cult, there has to be a doctrine. There has to be a hierarchical structure. There has to be dictates from the top down through generally what is defined as a pyramid, where generally at the bottom people are disempowered and at the top the power structure holds the power. What I love about what I teach is you are your power. And MPOT, you are your power. I share my perspective according to the people I work with, the people I influence. I don't dictate anything. In fact, I encourage people to have opinion. I think opinion in the public realm, as long as it's respectful, I'm all for respectful communication. I don't like it when people hate on other people, or people are just mean, or people hide behind a username that you can't really know who they are anyway. But it's definitely not a cult. But perhaps you can elaborate on why you feel that this is a cult, me sharing information, because I'm interested. Hold up, it's a religion stream. You showed up. Oh, okay. They're correct. Maybe you misinterpreted what I was sharing, and that is okay. That's why I wanted to clarify with you. Now, the next thing that people in hypnosis reported to Dolores Cannon when they had this conversation was when they were on the other side, they experienced time as meaningless. Time on the other side had no meaning. And now that is an interesting concept, isn't it? Time, I've come to see, is a creation of the human mind. It's a perception of our analytical humanity or aspect of our mind. This is why, and one of the number one things that people criticize with any type of regression work is they come from a place of criticism from an analytical standpoint. They experience time as linear, having a beginning and an end and points along the way. When you understand that in the quantum physics or the quantum reality or the quantum field, that time is not happening linearly, it's all existing in the eternal now. And you might say, Paul, what are you talking about? You sound crazy. I encourage you to look into quantum physics and mechanics. And that, all of those definitions and all of that explanation will describe it in a much better way and language than I could ever teach you. But I've come to know this is true for myself, because clients that I work with report being able to perceivably time travel, either visiting a past life or projecting themselves into a future life. And they report in great detail, with great accuracy, detailed information about what they experience. Now, psychics know this. Who's ever been to a psychic and had really profoundly accurate information about what we would call a future event? We have the ability to tap into this quantum field or this universal consciousness and download from it, like you would the smart device you're watching now, information from the network. This is what Dolores Cannon's subjects did in regression work. This is what my subjects do in regression work. They're able to get detailed information about their life purpose, why they're here, what their soul contracts are, and even learn lessons from future aspects of themselves and be able to download them into their current life. This is why we call this quantum healing, working within the quantum reality. When we understand that on the other side, time has no meaning, it's a tool for the analytical mind to navigate the human experience. Boy, we start to live in the realm of possibility, because we're not limited to a limited mind or a limited analytical way of interpreting reality. Who has done a past life regression before? And I'm going to answer some questions if anyone has any questions, perhaps. Here we go, N Potts. I'm a snake salesman. Perhaps you can elaborate on that. How, in what way am I a snake salesman? I don't get any royalties from Dolores Cannon's book. All of those royalties go directly back to Dolores Cannon's family. I'm just a practitioner of her method. And I work hard to zombie warrior, cult. Zombie warrior, please elaborate. How is this in any way a cult? You're repeating yourself. I think you've said it 10 times, zombie warrior. It's getting a little bit boring. I know that zombie warrior will probably be distracting people, so I'm just going to remove him. We always get trolls when we communicate here. And I welcome, that's why I like to answer the questions. I welcome intelligent interactions. But someone like Zombie Warrior that doesn't have anything to share except one word, and is probably living in his basement, living in the basement of his mother's house somewhere, probably doesn't have much going on for him. They love to project their own state of consciousness onto other people that are actually doing something. And you're selling something to other idiots. See, you're just abusing people. See, I love when I get the trolls, because the trolls are always And if you're so brave, why don't you come on and have a conversation with me? Why don't you get on camera and we could have a rational discussion together? We could have an interaction. But of course you won't do that, will you? Either of you trolls, because you won't do that. That's what trolls do. They hide behind banners like zombie warrior. And what was the other one again? I have to remind myself. Empot. So Empot and zombie warrior have to hide behind that and spurt their own unhappiness, their own unconsciousness onto other people. I built a substantial following here to help people heal, to help people find their life purpose, to help people live their best life. I'm sure you're not familiar with my work, because if you were familiar with my work, you would know that I don't try to sell anyone anything. I try to empower individuals to live their best life in the way that I live mine. So I'm sorry that you probably don't have anything better to do than to criticize other people. I certainly wouldn't want to spend these moments of my day criticizing others, because I would rather use my voice to empower an individual rather than try to attempt to tear them down. But of course you're not tearing me down, and I'm not discouraged, and I'm going to keep communicating my message, which I'm enjoying doing, by the way. And another thing that I enjoy is rereading this book, which, by the way, I'm not getting any sales commission for. I'm doing this because I believe in how powerful these books have given. In fact, I'll share a story with you. I was in public the other day and I heard two women talking about death. And I politely went over and introduced myself and spoken about my work. And I asked one of the ladies that was having this conversation, because they were having quite an interesting conversation that I just happened to overhear. One of those women had a terminal illness. And so she was asking a lot of the questions. What happens when you die? What I shared earlier is that a lot of people fear the unknown, terrified of the unknown. And I asked if she had heard of Dolores Cannon, and she said, oh yes, and this is incredible confirmation for me that you're bringing this up. And we mentioned this book. This book had brought her great comfort. And I stayed in contact via email with her, and we had a great dialogue together. And I was able to offer some great comfort from the perspective of what I work with, a terminally ill woman who, in a time in her life when more than ever she needs peace and clarity and facing death, facing the unknown, to just have more of a knowingness going through that brought her great comfort. So that brings me comfort to know that. I wonder, Empot, if you, that's a fake story, this is a cult, don't listen to this crazy guy. Don't you love it, guys, whoever is watching the replay, that these people love to stick around? They don't like the content, but they'll stay on it and listen to it all. I've been on for 24 minutes. I'm sorry that you think it's a fake story. I'm sorry that you have so much negativity in your life. I'm sorry that you feel you need to criticize other people. I like to use my voice for good. And I'll end with this. I see the voice, the human voice, like an instrument. And you can use your instrument to play beautiful music and inspire and uplift and make people feel good by the vibration of what you say. Or you can blast a hideous sound and make people feel upset and angry. My question for people watching is, how are you going to use your voice? Like Empot and like Zombie Warrior, are you going to use your voice to probably go on live stream to criticize other people when you yourself don't have confidence to share and have something to say publicly? Are you going to be like that? Or are you going to use your voice regardless of the criticism, because you'll always get criticized? This is the thing. What happens to me in this live stream happens to everybody that has a platform to share. I'm not special in that way. Every single person that I am inspired by, when I share Dolores Cannon's material and videos, people call her a crackpot and a cult leader and all sorts of other nasty things that Empot has said today. Do you think it stopped her? Do you think it stops the publishing of her books? No. Because the only person that it really matters, and this is for everybody watching, even if you're watching the replay, and why don't you comment about this, because I think this is why I'm glad I've given it attention today, that we all face, is criticism, hatred. And I'm sure you'll think this, Envoys, you probably don't like my hair either. For example, I get criticized every day, but people don't like my hair. And now I was thinking about that the other day, and I thought, I'm so glad I have hair. I'm grateful I have hair. I got friends in my life that don't, and they envy having a hairbrush. There's something to be grateful for. Often we think that we need lots in this life to feel at peace. And obviously there are people that don't feel at peace. I know they're in the chat today that lack peace in their life, that feel hatred within. And so what they do is they hide behind an anonymous username so that they can spread that hate that they feel inside towards themselves onto other people. I think that's incredibly sad. I do. And I feel compassion for those two people. I feel compassion that you would not have anything better to do with your instrument, anything better to do with your voice than to use it to try to harm another. But in fact, it certainly hasn't harmed me. It actually encourages me, because I know that if people are commenting, people are watching, and people are listening to what I have to share. I look forward to doing this with you again soon, and I'm so glad that my audio was so much better today, because last time my audio was white noise and crackling, and it wasn't today, as far as I know. And I'll watch this back to make sure the audio, because I'm committed to those that listen to this to have a good technical setup. I think sound is important, visual is important, so that when you listen to it, wherever you are listening, you get a clear signal. Much love to you all.